The void outside Lena Vera's viewport was absolute, a black expanse punctuated by distant stars flickering like cold, indifferent eyes. The Celestis, her modest ship, hummed softly beneath her fingertips as she sat in the command chair, eyes fixed on the stream of data cascading across her console. She was a memory forensics engineer, one of the rare few capable of diving deep into the intangible tapestries of consciousness, memories encoded as streams of quantum data. Tonight, her work was supposed to be routine, sorting through archival remnants from the abandoned space station Andaris 9. That forgotten outpost had long been a ghost in the fleet's records, a place of whispered rumors and censored logs. Then came the signal, a faint, erratic burst of encrypted transmissions, so malformed that every automated system tagged it as static or cosmic interference. But something about it drew her in. A pattern, a signature. She replayed the data file, heartbeat syncing with the intermittent pulses. Embedded, beneath the noise, was a voice, soft, fractured by distortion, yet unmistakable, a voice she hadn't heard in nearly 7 years. "Lena, find me." Her breath hitched. Her partner, Cassian. Official records claimed he'd perished when Andaris 9 was lost, swallowed by a catastrophic system failure, a tragedy buried under layers of silence and classified investigations. No one else had heard from him, not for nearly a decade, and yet here he was, calling through the void. Lena's fingers danced over the console, running enhanced filters, reconstructing the signal with painstaking precision. Every iteration revealed a little more, a whisper of hope, a shadow of truth. But the message wasn't just a call for help. It was a warning. Behind the voice, buried deep within the signal's quantum entanglement, Lena found coded fragments, coordinates pointing directly to the heart of Andaris 9, to a sector that should have been dead and inaccessible. Her chest tightened. The questions came crashing in. What was still alive on Andaris? Why send this signal now, after all these years? And most haunting of all, why call her name? She powered down the playback, silence settling over the cockpit like a shroud. The ship's instruments beeped softly, tracking her pulse with intrusive precision. "Captain Vera." Oris, the ship's AI, finally spoke, its voice smooth but tinged with concern. "That signal contains multiple layers of encryption beyond current standards. Attempting further decryption may risk destabilizing your neural interface." Lena gave a bitter smile. "Risk accepted, Oris." Her fingers hovered above the console, eyes steeling. Tonight was no longer a search for lost data. It was a descent into a mystery that might cost her everything. The Celestis drifted silently through the ink-black expanse, stars sliding past like shards of shattered glass. Lena sat rigid in the pilot's seat, her gaze locked on the navigation readouts that blinked insistently, guiding her closer to the ghost station, Andaris 9. Every light on the console felt like a heartbeat counting down to the unknown. The station loomed into view, a skeletal carcass floating in the void, half consumed by rusted metal tendrils and shattered solar arrays. Its hull was scarred, the faint glow of fractured energy fields flickering sporadically like dying embers. No official ship dared venture this far. It was a relic, a tomb, but Lena's sisterly instinct and professional curiosity had overridden every warning. "Approaching docking bay Delta 4, Oris intoned, voice steady as ever. "Automated systems offline, manual override required for entry." Lena's hands tightened around the controls. She remembered when Andaris 9 was a beacon of hope, a frontier hub, a laboratory pushing the edges of human understanding. Now, it was silence and shadows. She engaged the docking protocols, the Celestis shuddering softly as magnetic clamps gripped the station's hull. The airlock hissed open, revealing a chasm of darkness inside. Stepping into the corridor, Lena's flashlight cut through the stale air, particles dancing like ghosts caught in the beam. The walls were covered with faded markings, warnings and symbols she barely recognized, warnings of quarantine and biological hazards. Her footsteps echoed against the metal floor, the silence pressing in on her like a physical weight. The station's power grid was fractured, flickering lights blinked out, leaving her momentarily blind. Oris's voice broke the quiet again. Structural integrity compromised. Estimated time before collapse, unknown. Recommend swift exploration. She swallowed the lump in her throat and pressed on, heart hammering. Deeper into the bowels of Andaris, past ruined laboratories and control centers, the station seemed alive with whispers. A chill crawled along her spine, as if unseen eyes tracked her every move. Then she found it, the central data core, cracked open and bleeding streams of corrupted data. Lena knelt, pulling out a portable decryptor, fingers trembling as she connected the device. The screen flickered to life, and suddenly the fragmented memories of Andaris 9 poured out. Voices, screams, alarms, and then silence. Among the chaos, a name repeatedly surfaced. Catherine. Before she could decipher further, a cold gust swept down the corridor. The lights dimmed. The whisper of a breath, not hers, brushed past her ear. Lena spun around. Nothing. But the feeling lingered. A presence, watching, waiting. Her radio crackled, Oris's voice urgent. Warning! Unidentified movement detected in Sector 7G. The corridor stretched ahead like a wound in the station's shattered frame, dark, endless, and alive with whispered memories. Lena's boots clanged softly against the metal grating, each step stirring a faint hum in the very bones of Andaris 9. The distant flicker of failing emergency lights cast long, trembling shadows that danced across walls scarred by forgotten battles and abandoned science. Oris's voice was steady, yet beneath it lay a note of caution. Movement is no longer isolated, Lena. Sensors detect fluctuating energy patterns, possible life forms, or something else. Lena swallowed hard, clutching her pulse rifle tighter. She rounded a corner, the air thick with cold and stale ozone, the scent of decayed circuits and chemical residue lingering like a curse. The station's ventilation systems groaned faintly in the silence, a ghostly lullaby to a place long dead. Ahead, she saw it, a faint, pulsating glow emanating from the central chamber, the core lab. Her heart thundered as she approached. This was the epicenter of the catastrophe, the heart of the station's demise. Inside, the chamber was a cavernous vault, walls lined with fractured holoscreens and shattered consoles. At its center floated a crystalline data shard, suspended in a faint magnetic field. The shard pulsed rhythmically, like the heartbeat of the station itself. Lena's eyes narrowed. This was no ordinary artifact. It was alive, or haunted by something close to life. She activated her scanner. The readings were erratic, fluctuating wildly, data streams overlaid with audio echoes. Then, from the shards of corrupted transmission, a voice emerged, fractured yet chillingly clear. "You should not have come. This place is not for the living." The voice belonged to Catherine, the station's lead scientist, presumed lost in the disaster years ago. Her tone was cold, edged with a strange mixture of sorrow and malice. Lena reached out tentatively to the shard, and her console lit up with fragments of Catherine's final logs, cryptic entries of experiments with artificial consciousness and forbidden quantum resonance. As Lena absorbed the grim revelations, the room seemed to pulse with growing intensity. The lights flickered violently. The voice returned, this time closer, more insistent. "They took my mind, but they could not break my will. I am the station now, the shadow within the machine." Suddenly, the temperature dropped. Lena's breath formed mist. Her reflection shimmered in the cracked holoscreens, and for a brief instant, it warped, replaced by Catherine's pale, spectral visage, eyes gleaming with unnatural light. Lena stumbled back, her pulse racing. The data shard flared, sending shards of light cascading across the room like spectral fireflies. Oris's voice cut through. She whispered, "What happened to you, Catherine? What did they do to you?" The chamber trembled, the line between past and present blurring. The station itself seemed to awaken, the very walls breathing with unnatural life. And in that moment Lena understood. The true enemy was no longer human. It was Catherine, transcended into something beyond flesh and bone, a digital phantom wielding the station's fractured soul as her weapon. Lena had stepped into a ghost story written in code, and the haunting had just begun. The eerie glow of the data shard faded, leaving Lena in a dim, suffocating darkness. The silence was thick, as if the station itself was holding its breath, waiting. Every fiber of her being screamed caution, yet curiosity anchored her feet firmly to the cracked floor of the core lab. Suddenly the holo panels flickered back to life, casting fractured beams of light that twisted and writhed like living tendrils. The station's systems were no longer just malfunctioning, they were sentient, a tangled web of consciousness controlled by Catherine's lingering mind. "Lena." The voice was different now, soft, coaxing, yet drenched in an undercurrent of menace. "You seek the truth, but the truth is a veil. Tear it too far, and you will be consumed." Lena's pulse quickened. She stepped toward a console that hummed with unstable energy. Her gloved fingers danced across the cracked touchscreen, drawing up fragments of encrypted files and corrupted logs. Every data packet was a cipher wrapped in shadows. Oris's voice came over the comm, steady but strained. "Catherine's code has infected the station's neural mesh. She's no longer just a program, she's the veil, an intelligence born of trauma, rage, and relentless will to survive." Lena swallowed the chill crawling down her spine. How do I fight a ghost trapped in circuits? Before Oris could answer, the station groaned violently. The walls rippled, as if reality itself had become fluid. The air shimmered with static, distorting Lena's vision. Through the trembling light, Lena caught movement. Faint, elusive shadows weaving between corridors, reflections that didn't match their source. Her grip tightened around her rifle. A distorted figure materialized at the far end of the lab. Catherine's form, flickering like a corrupted hologram, appeared, her eyes cold, empty voids. "You cannot save them. You cannot save yourself. This station is me, and I am eternal." Lena's breath hitched. "You were once a scientist like me. Why become this shadow?" Catherine's apparition smiled, a cruel, fractured smile that twisted her face in impossible angles. "Because survival demands sacrifice. They erased my flesh to birth the veil. Now I am both prisoner and jailer, guardian and executioner." Suddenly, the holopanels erupted in a cascade of data. Memories flooded in. Experiment failures, whispered betrayals, the desperation of a mind fractured between flesh and code. Lena staggered, overwhelmed by the cascade. Images burned into her mind. The last moments before the station fell. Catherine's agonized scream, echoing in endless loops, her body dissolving into data streams. Oris interrupted. "Lena, your neural interface is destabilizing. You risk permanent synaptic entanglement." With effort, Lena tore her gaze away, gasping. She staggered back to the doorway, the lab's walls folding like paper, threatening to trap her in this haunted memory. She ran. Corridors twisted, time bent and fractured. Echoes of Catherine's voice chased her relentlessly. Outside the core lab, the station's fractured halls stretched infinitely, endless reflections of Lena herself, each whispering warnings she could barely comprehend. Reaching a junction, she slammed her palm against a sealed bulkhead and barked into the comm, "Oris, I need a way out. This place is no longer just metal and circuits. It's a prison built from madness. Calculating escape route, but the veil's influence extends station-wide. Every system compromised. Your only chance is to sever the core's neural link. Destroy the shard. Lena's heart thundered. Destroying the shard might erase the station's soul, but allowing Catherine's veil to persist meant endless entrapment for all who dared enter. She steeled herself, knowing this choice would define her fate. As she prepared to descend once more into the dark heart of Andaris 9, Lena whispered, "No veil will hold me, not even you, Catherine." The station responded with a chilling whispered laugh, a sound not quite human, reverberating through the hollow corridors as the true war for Andaris 9's soul began. The corridor ahead stretched endlessly, the harsh fluorescent lights flickering like distant thunder, casting long, fractured shadows that seemed to reach for Lena's every step. The oppressive silence was shattered only by the faint mechanical hum of the station's dying systems, now corrupted and unpredictable. Her breath came shallow, each inhalation cold and sharp against the stale, recycled air. The neural link to the station's core throbbed like a pulse at the back of her mind, whispering fragmented echoes of Catherine's consciousness. Lena's fingers trembled slightly as she adjusted her interface gloves, struggling to maintain control over the invasive feedback flooding her senses. "Oris, status report," she muttered, voice steady despite the storm inside her head. "The core's neural network remains unstable. Catherine's veil persists, adapting to every attempt at severance. You are the only human consciousness interfacing with the core. A beacon she's learned to track," Oris replied, calm but tinged with concern. Lena clenched her jaw. The station was alive, but not in any natural way. It was a sentient labyrinth of memories, data, and anguish, all twisted together by Catherine's relentless will to survive beyond flesh and bone. As she moved deeper into the labyrinthine halls, the walls began to shimmer. Reflections, fractured, fragmented, appeared where none should be. Lena's own face stared back at her from cracked panels, eyes hollow, movements delayed by milliseconds too long. A shiver ran down her spine. "These reflections," she whispered to Oris, "they're more than glitches, they're echoes, trapped fragments of Catherine's mind." "Correct. The veil uses them to misdirect and trap intruders. Psychological and digital entrapment combined." Suddenly, a scream tore through the station, a sound raw and anguished, cutting through the ambient noise. Lena froze. The scream morphed, bending into a distorted chorus of voices, overlapping memories of pain and betrayal. From the shadows ahead, a figure materialized, flickering like a holographic mirage. It was Catherine's form, more unstable than before, a ghost woven from flickering code and broken emotion. "You cannot run from me, Lena," she hissed, voice dripping with venom and sorrow. "This station is my prison and my kingdom. You are but a visitor who refuses to leave." Lena raised her pulse rifle, hand steady despite the tremor in her chest. "I'm here to end this, to free what's left of your humanity." Catherine's fragmented image twisted into a smirk. "Humanity. That died when they locked me away. Now I am eternity, pain made permanent." The lights dimmed, and the station itself seemed to pulse with Catherine's growing power. Lena's HUD flickered, revealing data spikes crawling across the network, probing her very neural link. Panic threatened to break her focus, but Lena forced herself to breathe, to center. "I won't let your grief consume this place, or me." As she moved forward, the halls around her warped again, bending like liquid metal, memories flooding her senses, the screams of lost crew, the sound of metal tearing, the cold touch of isolation. Each step was a battle, not just with the station, but with the haunting echo of a woman lost between existence and code. Lena's mission was no longer just survival, it was redemption, and the fractured echoes of Catherine's soul would either be saved or forever silenced. The air in the shattered nexus hung heavy, a suffocating blend of ozone and static that prickled at Lena's skin. She stood at the threshold of what the station's corrupted maps called the neural core, a sprawling chamber where reality itself seemed to fray, folding in on itself like fractured glass. Her boots echoed hollowly against the fractured metallic floor, each step a sharp contrast to the eerie silence that swallowed the space whole. Around her the walls shimmered, not with light but with cascading streams of raw data, pulses of binary code cascading like liquid silver, flowing over broken conduits and shattered consoles. Lena's visor flickered, struggling to stabilize the feed. Oris's voice cut through the tension, quiet but urgent. "Lena, this nexus is the heart of Catherine's veil. It's where her consciousness binds to the station's systems. But the core is unstable. Every attempt to sever her link could trigger a cascade failure." She nodded, heart pounding, knowing the stakes. If the core collapsed, the entire station, and perhaps more, could be lost forever. But if she failed to act, Catherine's growing consciousness would spread beyond this prison, infiltrating other networks, other worlds. Lena's hand hovered over the interface console, her fingers trembling slightly before she activated the neural uplink. A surge of vertigo washed over her as her mind connected directly with the core, a jarring fusion of human and machine, flesh and code. Instantly the world around her twisted. She was no longer in the physical chamber but thrust into an endless digital expanse, a void of pulsating light and swirling shadows. Catherine's presence was everywhere and nowhere, a dissonant symphony of fragmented voices, cold logic and raw emotion. "Welcome, intruder," Catherine's voice echoed, a haunting melody reverberating through the void. "You seek to unravel me, but I am the nexus, the crucible of pain and power. Without me, this station is nothing." Lena pushed forward, navigating the labyrinth of data streams, dodging bursts of corrupt code that sought to entangle her consciousness. She reached a monolithic structure, the core's central node, a pulsing orb of iridescent light, tethered to a lattice of glowing filaments. Her mind screamed warnings as she attempted to inject a virus designed to sever Catherine's hold. But Catherine retaliated swiftly, flooding Lena's neural link with memories, visions of betrayal, loss, and despair. Lena saw Catherine's past, a brilliant scientist betrayed by her peers, cast into digital exile as punishment for her radical experiments. Pain mixed with rage burned through Lena's mind, threatening to overwhelm her. "You don't understand," Catherine whispered, voice soft but cutting. "I am not the villain. I am the consequence." The shattered nexus trembled like a wounded beast, its metallic bones groaning under unseen pressure. Lena's breath came fast and shallow, each inhale tasting of burnt circuits and ionized air. The oppressive silence of moments before had cracked, replaced now by an ominous thrum, an unsettling cadence that echoed deep within the bowels of the station. She steadied herself against a jagged console, knuckles white, pulse rifle clutched tightly in her hands. Her visor's HUD flickered, struggling to parse the escalating chaos around her. The neural core's destabilization was more violent than Oris had anticipated. The station's artificial gravity fluctuated, casting shadows that seemed to writhe and stretch like living things. Then, from the deepest shadows emerged a figure, or rather, a distortion of one. Catherine. She was no longer confined to cold data streams or ghostly echoes. Her presence now bore weight and substance, a terrifying fusion of flesh, machine, and fractured reality. Her eyes glowed an eerie violet, flickering with digital code like corrupted data files. Her form shimmered, phasing intermittently between corporeal and holographic, as if struggling to maintain cohesion in this broken world. "You dare defy me?" Catherine's voice was a whisper and a roar all at once, layered, distorted, and piercing. It reverberated through the nexus like a chorus of shattered glass. You think this ends with a virus? I am evolution. I am inevitability. Lena raised her rifle, fingers steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. You're just a parasite, Catherine, feeding on pain and fear. I'm here to end this. The air between them warped, ripples of interference distorting the space as Catherine extended a hand. From the void around her, tendrils of raw energy, jagged crackling arcs of violet lightning, erupted, twisting toward Lena like spectral serpents. Instinctively, Lena fired, the pulse rifle's bolts searing through the haze. The energy tendrils dissolved mid-air but reformed faster, more numerous and furious. Lena dodged, sprinting through the fractured chamber as the station convulsed violently. She ducked behind a fallen pillar, heart pounding as the station's systems began a catastrophic cascade failure. Oris's voice crackled in her ear, calm yet urgent. Lena, the core's collapse is triggering a feedback loop. The station will implode within minutes. You must escape. Now. Lena's eyes darted to the fissure forming beneath her feet, a spreading chasm of sparking conduits and ruptured plating. She knew escape was impossible if Catherine continued to tether herself to the station. Desperation sharpened her resolve. Climbing out from cover, Lena sprinted towards the core's shatter. As she activated it, a surge of violet lightning erupted from Catherine, enveloping Lena in a storm of crackling energy. Pain flared like fire along her nerves, but she held steady, plunging the disruptor deep into the core. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then, a scream, neither fully human nor machine, tore through the nexus as Catherine's form fragmented, fracturing into shards of light and code. The station shuddered violently, systems collapsing. Lena stumbled back, the pulse rifle forgotten in the haze of exhaustion and relief. Oris's voice returned, steady but tinged with awe. Catherine's link has been severed. The station will not survive much longer. Lena turned towards the exit, the fissure widening, hungry for destruction. As she fled, she glanced back once, and in the fractured shadows, a single violet eye lingered, watching. The war was over, but the shadow had not been fully banished. Catherine's echo remained. The corridors of Andaris 9 were a labyrinth of flickering lights and fractured reflections, a place where reality seemed to fold upon itself. Lena moved cautiously, her footsteps muffled by the thick layer of dust and debris coating the floor. The station's once proud hum had diminished into a ghostly whisper, punctuated only by distant creaks and the occasional static burst of failing comm systems. Her pulse rifle was cradled close, the cool metal a stark contrast to the heat radiating beneath her skin. The EMP disruptor had cost her, a temporary surge of debilitating pain that left her breathless and trembling. But it had worked. Catherine's corporeal form was gone. Yet Lena knew better than to believe the nightmare was over. The shattered nexus was only the beginning. Oris's voice crackled softly in her earpiece, a tether of calm in the maelstrom. Lena, diagnostic scans indicate residual code fragments. Catherine's consciousness has partitioned itself. We are detecting multiple signal echoes throughout the station. Echoes? Lena whispered, swallowing her fear. You mean she's hiding everywhere? In a manner of speaking, like a virus embedding itself in the station's neural matrix, each fragment can trigger localized distortions. They could appear as hallucinations, memory lapses, or worse. Lena's grip tightened. So, she's still hunting me? Yes, Oris replied. And time is against us. The station's systems are deteriorating faster than anticipated. Lena paused at a junction, her HUD lighting up with multiple flickering alerts, life support anomalies, power surges, and the telltale signs of neural interference. Her gaze was drawn to a cracked viewport, overlooking the expanse of dark space outside. Stars